G'day, welcome to Todd's Kitchen. Pancakes are one of those desserts that we all love, but it's one of those recipes that you just have every now and then. But this one's fantastic for a keto diet, or just if you're trying to cut down on your carbs. So join me today as I make my version of keto pancakes. Okay, so this is definitely one of the most easiest pancake recipes you'll ever make. Plus it's healthy and it's jam-packed full of protein, the perfect way to start your day. And of course, let's not forget no carbs or sugar. So to start off with, we're going to use 230 grams or 8 ounces of softened cream cheese. You can use low fat if you like, it's up to you. The next half of our protein we're going to get from our eggs, so I'm going to place in 8 eggs. Now these are large eggs, but most importantly, they're room temperature. And the reason why we're using eggs at room temperature, if you use them cold, you're going to get an eggy taste in your recipe, which you don't want. So that's the secret to having no egg taste in this recipe. And lastly, I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of melted butter. You could also use softened butter, but at the moment in Australia, we're in the middle of winter, so it's a bit hard to have room temperature butter because it's still very cold, so you can melt it or have it at room temperature. Either way, it works just fine. So all we have to do is with a hand or stand mixer, you can even use a food processor if you like. We're simply going to mix this up until everything is combined and there are no lumps left. So it should take about 4 to 5 minutes at the most, assuming everything is at room temperature. Okay, so as you can see, it is now lump free and nice and smooth. Now we only need one more ingredient, or two if you choose, and that's our protein powder. Now you can use any type of protein powder that you like, but the one I'm going for has no carbs, well, basically no carbs or sugar whatsoever. So it's really important to check the nutritional information on the protein powder that you're using. And the good thing is you can use any flavor protein powder that you like. So if you want vanilla, use vanilla. If you want chocolate, use chocolate. Or you can just add a tad of vanilla essence, which is the extra ingredient that I'm talking about. But this is just a neutral one, and I'm going to add in 62 grams worth, which is about 2 average scoops of protein powder. And we're just going to mix that through just for another minute or two, just to make sure there's no lumps left. And then it's well combined. Okay, so I've got a fry pan on a medium heat. Make sure it's preheated. Now you can add some oil if you like, but for this particular recipe I'd choose not to, as long as I'm using a non-stick pan, because it does spread a lot more than a normal pancake mix. So it is a bit of a trade-off. So it's completely up to you. So I'm just going to pour on just a small amount, not too much, because it will spread out a bit. Just depends on the size of the pancake that you desire. And we're going to let that cook away for about 2 to 3 minutes on each side. But basically, you will know it's ready when it starts to dry out on the outside and you get bubbles forming around in the center. Okay, so as you can see, it is just starting to go dry on the outside, and you can see all the bubbles starting to form in the middle. And it has been about 2 to 3 minutes. Regardless of the time, you definitely want to make sure those bubbles are there, because that means it's cooking on the inside. But that also means it's time to flip over, so we're just going to be very careful. And luckily this is a non-stick pan. And look at that, it looks fantastic, and I can tell you what, it already smells fantastic. So just cook it for another 2 minutes, and then we're just going to keep on doing that until we've cooked all of our pancakes. Now, a common mistake people make when they add toppings to their hotcakes, especially when they're going keto, I should say, is that they think, well, let's just put on some maple syrup, because let's be honest, maple syrup tastes fantastic and you just can't beat it. And personally, I only ever use pure Canadian maple syrup, because honestly, you cannot beat the taste. It really is fantastic. But there's only one little problem. And the problem is, it's 80% sugar. So even a little bit of this is going to throw you right out of ketosis if you happen to be on a keto diet. Or if you're watching your sugar levels, especially diabetics, it's actually very dangerous. A single serve of this stuff has 28 grams of sugar. So you've got to be very careful not to use pure maple syrup if you're a diabetic or if you're trying to stay in ketosis. But luckily, there are other versions. For example, this is one of my favorite. Now this is no shout out to the brand, I just happen to like this particular one. This is a maple flavored syrup. And as you can see, It has 0 sugar and less than a gram of carbs, which basically means no carbs at all. So if you're not worried about the sugar, if you're not trying to stay in ketosis or you're not diabetic, just go for the pure maple syrup, that's fine. But if you are trying to keep this strictly keto and you are a diabetic, look for the alternative one, which is the sugar-free version of maple syrup. I mean, honestly, you cannot beat the pure maple syrup. I'm not going to lie about that, but the sugar-free alternative is very, very nice. So just make sure you read the labels of everything you buy, just so you don't make that very easy mistake. And now would you look at that delicious stack of pancakes. It not only looks fantastic, it's going to taste fantastic. 0 carbs, 0 sugar. And nice and fluffy. Look at that. So honestly, all you have to do is just simply pour on your sugar-free maple syrup. And also, don't use things like, say, honey or say golden syrup or anything like that, because that's all basically 100% sugar. That's all it is. So if you make that mistake, it really is not a keto recipe. So make sure you check the label so it's sugar-free. Now I love maple syrup, so I always add more than needed. So it's completely up to you. You can also get, say, blueberry, for example. It's really easy, simple, but the best thing is it's delicious. Now, as I'm on a keto diet myself, I have no problem taste testing this recipe. Oh, look at that. Let's take a couple. See how fluffy they are? Of course, I'm going to add some more of this sugar-free maple syrup, goes without saying. Oh, yum. That is honestly fantastic. While you don't have all the flour, the carbs, the sugar, they honestly taste just like normal pancakes. So they really are a perfect way to start your day. So they're sugar-free, they're carb-free, they're jam-packed full of protein, which you need during the day, which helps keep the hunger at bay, but it also fuels your muscles. But the best thing is, they taste simply delish. And while you're at it, click on one of the links on the screen where you'll find my keto playlist. That's jam-packed full of more delicious keto recipes.